So guys, I finally got around to making the video on 7 sins. So let's get down to it. To get there, you go to your gear section, 7 sins. Okay, in the 7 sins section, we have 3 sides to it. The first is the edit at the far left, the switch at middle, and might upgrades at far right. Let's talk of the edit first. For the edit section, you have 3 tabs to it. This unlocks at level 100, first tab, the second tab at level 110, I believe, and the last one at level 120. For each tab, you get 3 slots, which you can put in some edit gears. The edit gears, you get them from dungeons, from on the same scale, just basically anywhere you actually get your normal gear from. You can also get an edit gear from there. When you get an edit gear, it's gonna pop up on your screen, especially if it's purple, and you'll see it in your inventory like this. So careful not to dismantle it immediately. Like yeah, don't make that mistake. When you get an edit gear, it's gonna be for any one of the 7 sins. It could be for gluttony, could be for envy, wrath, and so on. So check it out. If it's appealing to you, definitely rub it in. As this. If it isn't, then you could actually dismantle it, and there's a chance of getting something else you can use to maybe get another edit gear. I'm not sure, I've not done it. Needs more experimentation. So what I'm just trying to say is be careful with your edit gears and choice of the ones you slot in. Moving on, switch. The switch section is quite simple. You choose the actual weapon you want. Let's say I want to use envy, and I go to envy, I select envy over here and tap on the switch, and right now I'll be able to use envy. There it is. So let's say I'm done with whatever I wanted to use envy for, and I want to go back to filth. I want to go back to the filth sin. I go back to it and switch. That's it. That'll be it for switch. Then moving on to might upgrade. Okay, I'm not gonna bore you guys with any long story. I'm just gonna make it brief as possible. So here are some tips and tricks for each of the 7 sins. Let's start with wrath and end at filth. For wrath, you sacrifice 5% of your HP to increase your damage and decrease the damage you receive. A simple trick to using this is the fighter class. They can use wrath before going into robot mode. The robot's health will cover up for any 5% HP you might have lost, and you will do more damage in that mode. Reapers, on the other hand, can also use this, and right after use the Raven's Call skill to regain the 5% HP they lost, and now they can begin hammering away. The second sin of greed. Here it seems to be quite the support sin by dealing massive AoE damage to nearby enemies, so that means you have to be close to your opponent, inflicting mark of greed on them and reducing their healing by 100% for a couple seconds. Using bombs as a scenario and a soul dancer as a class example. A soul dancer can activate Dustbuster EX and go close to its opponents in bombs, then release the sin debuffing the opponents and placing the mark of greed on them, also ensuring that the opponent's soul dancers can't heal for at least 10 seconds. Could be more if another soul dancer in the team also activates the power of greed. If the soul dancer that used the mark of greed also uses the mark of Azure to hit multiple targets, he's going to have a higher chance of getting the extra 15% defense increase of the greed sin. To be honest, I think the pride weapon is one you can't go wrong focusing on. It deals massive damage, removes every buff that your opponent might have put on himself, and negates any debuff that's been placed on you. The only thing I'd advise with a pride weapon is you'll be wise when using it. Focus and know the right timing to use it. This can work as a perfect negator to the wrath weapon. When you see your opponent use the wrath weapon to buff themselves, or any other weapon that buffs themselves or debuffs you, just immediately use your pride weapon and negate that from the opponents and from yourself while dealing serious damage to them. The gluttony weapon is actually a good one. It deals damage to its target, leaving them with a poisoning effect. It could also deal splash damage, which makes it quite good for both team battles and single battles. Let's not forget it also reduces the damage you receive depending on the level of your gluttony skill. As a puppeteer, you could use laceration, then gluttony, and finally razor wind to deal serious burst damage to your opponent. Another example is with the assassin class. You could use the gluttony skill before going into your shadow form. Perform serious damage to your opponent while reducing the damage you receive. The envy scene weapon is one of my favorites, and it's kind of self-explanatory. Like the name says, you want what your opponent has, and you just keep taking and taking and taking. With the envy skill, you deal damage to your target and steal at least 10% of their attack for yourself. Like the pride weapon skill, I'd advise you be careful with envy. Envy is very useful, but you need to time your usage properly. Imagine your opponent uses wrath. All you gotta do is use envy and your damage will always be 10% higher than theirs. But keep in mind that this is based on your attack. If your attack is higher than your opponent's, you're actually not gonna gain more than 10%, but you will gain a stable 10% damage increase. If your attack is lower than your opponent's, then you can gain as much as 11%, depending on the difference between your attack and your opponent's attacks. I like to think of Sloth as the king of debuff. It inflicts damage on your opponent and puts various debuffs on the opponent. Using the Blade Master and the Soul Dancer class as an example in this, you should only use the Sloth skill when you feel you can continuously stun your opponents. Use it, and once they get free from the stuns and try running away, the debuff effects of the Sloth skill will kick in. If your opponents still keep attacking you without running away, then even better. Within 3 seconds of you using the Sloth skill, your opponent's skill cooldown are going to be sealed. And finally, my all-time favorite one, Lost. I mean Filth. Yeah, I said Filth, guys. Filth. The Filth skill deals high damage, adds bleed into the opponent, deals more damage against a different sex, and increases your critical damage. Yeah, all for one skill. I honestly think this skill should be more than 120 seconds cooldown. It sounds so amazing for just a 120-second cooldown skill. So I guess being a guy is kind of useful at this point. You get to deal more damage against the female class and the lollies. I think Field's an awesome skill for any PvP at all. That's it for the video, guys. Please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you found this video helpful. Also comment your ideas and questions below and I will get back to you. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.